I headed to the hills after learning of my wife's affair. I don't exactly know why I'm writing this, but now that the events are over and done, and I've moved on, maybe it will help someone. In February 2018, I stumbled upon a revelation in the mail, discovering that my 30-year-old wife was having an affair after 3.5 years of marriage. I held a contract job that required occasional travel, but also permitted me to work from home when I returned. Meanwhile, my wife held a lucrative position as the director of a technical sales firm. We had what I would characterize as a genuinely good marriage, although it became somewhat strained due to my frequent work trips and her increasingly demanding work hours. Going back a bit, I met my now ex-wife 5 years ago at a mutual friend's barbecue. We engaged in conversation, and there was an instant chemistry. Honestly, I felt like I was defying the odds by being with such a beautiful and articulate woman. Somehow, she really liked me for my rough-around-the-edges persona. Once we started dating after a few weeks, we couldn't get enough of each other, and the clothes just flew off when we would meet at each other's apartments. We finally tied the knot after dating for 8 months and moved into a big apartment while saving for a house. After the initial 3 years of marriage, things began to shift. While I still felt strongly for her, I observed that she started picking arguments over minor issues. Whenever I raised concerns about her increasingly late hours and frequent work outings, she would get angry. Her rationale was that it was part of paying her dues as she climbed the corporate ladder. She insisted I had no right to question her, given my own weeks-long absences due to work. I assured her that I could reduce my travel hours, and in reality, I was only going on trips for about 3 or 4 days every 5 weeks. However, our arguments remained circular and never found a resolution. In hindsight, I had no clue that my wife was involved in an affair. I would have never suspected anything if not for her persistently late work hours and the decline in our intimate life. I dismissed her fatigue as work-related exhaustion. Nevertheless, my self-esteem suffered from frequent rejections when initiating intimacy. I remained oblivious to the secret texting that I later discovered. Considering she had a company cell phone, it occurred to me that she might have been using it while spending extensive time in our spare bedroom, which she had turned into a home office. It was around September of 2017 when Kathy started coming home after work and then heading off to a work engagement for the evening. This went from 1 evening a week to more than 3 evenings a week. I'm not that jealous by nature, but there is no way she would go unnoticed, and I knew she would have to fend off some of the men at her office. Her focus appeared solely on work, particularly collaborating with male executives. My initial suspicion of her infidelity arose a month before the revelation day, D-Day. On that occasion, she made a stop at the store before returning home, and she requested my assistance with the groceries. As I retrieved bags from the back seat of her car, I noticed something pink glinting from just underneath the front passenger seat. It was one of my wife's bras. I recognized it as hers, since she liked the ones from a particular apparel store. In retrospect, I now realize the reason for the red flag with the bra. When she gets in the mood, she always takes off her bra first from underneath her clothes. I don't know exactly why, but I instantly just had a sinking feeling in my gut when I saw this. I could not rationalize what her bra was doing under the seat. I just left it there under the seat. It almost made me sick, and my heart must have been racing like crazy, because when I returned to the kitchen with the bags, Kathy asked if I was okay, that I looked like I had seen a ghost. I shrugged off her comment, doing my best not to display any anger or sense of betrayal. Though I concealed my feelings that evening and the following days, I couldn't shake the suspicion. Determined to uncover the truth, I began piecing together the clues, realizing I had no concrete evidence except for the unsettling incident with the bra. We live in a fairly large city, and her work is in a downtown office building. I kind of took my focus off of the affair idea for a bit and decided maybe I should give her more attention. One Friday after work, I made a nice dinner, set up the dining table with nice plates, silverware, and candles. I bought a nice bottle of wine and a bouquet of roses. As usual, she breezed in after work, and I eagerly pointed out the dinner I had prepared. Instead of the enthusiastic response I hoped for, she offered a sad smile and informed me that she had plans to meet up with her coworkers at a local hangout that evening, while suggesting a quick bite together before she left. She mentioned needing to jump in the shower first. I think my insides flipped on me, and I became completely speechless. I won't tell you what kind of rage I was feeling at that point, but I had finally had enough. While she was in the shower, I grabbed my company cell phone and planted it in her back seat. I'd been thinking of this lately as a way I could track her location with my personal phone. I went in and dumped the meal in the trash along with the flowers. She came back after her shower, dressed up and looking great as usual. She said, "Okay, let's eat." I told her, "Never mind, go out with your friends." She looked at me strangely and asked if I was mad. I said, "I'm disappointed by you never wanting to do anything together." She became angry and told me to quit acting like a child and said something snarky about having a short fuse. I stood there letting all this sink in and said, "Foolish me. I thought you'd like to spend the evening together for once." She just smirked at me and left in a huff. I took out my other phone and started tracking my work phone, observing her stopping at the bar, a regular spot for her work buddies, which was about 20 minutes away. I made the impromptu decision to head out and find her car, confirming my suspicions. Her car was indeed parked in the bar's lot. Sitting across the street in my car, I waited anxiously, feeling an unsettling sense of being unlike myself, almost akin to a stalker. But I rationalized I needed to at least satisfy my anxiety about her whereabouts. About an hour after I arrived, I saw her coming out of the bar with a man. He looked like one of the execs I've seen from her work. He grabbed her and pulled her close and kissed her. My stomach went into knots. My body went completely numb. They headed over to another car and got in together. I did my best to follow them. As the car pulled out, they traveled about 10 minutes away to, you guessed it, a hotel. I pulled over on the street next to the hotel. I watched as they got out and headed hand in hand into the hotel. I'd seen enough. I'm an idiot. I started banging my fist on the steering wheel. That's it. Something inside me went completely blank, and I'm not sure if I blacked out or had an out-of-body experience. When I recovered myself, I decided I needed a drink. Now, this is when my life took a new direction that I would have never guessed. I just started driving out of town, just reliving everything I had just witnessed, overwhelmed with rage and sorrow. I found myself driving towards the outskirts of town, covering about 30 miles. Seeking solace, I stumbled upon a quaint bar where I took a seat and ordered a drink. My appearance must have mirrored my inner turmoil, as the observant female bartender remarked that I seemed like someone who had been utterly deflated. I half smiled and said, "You could say that." A guy took a stool next to me and started up a conversation. I wasn't in much of a mood to talk, but something about this guy just made me feel comfortable. We started talking, and after a while, the subject of my wife cheating just tumbled out of my mind. How I just wanted to leave her and forget her. He looked at me and slapped me on the back. He said, "Buddy, you are not alone." That happened to me a few years ago. I believe that sometimes these things happen for a reason. And let me tell you, Your life can now change, either for the better or the worse. It's entirely up to you at this point." Something about him saying this really shook me out of my glum mood. I mean, I know I'm hurting, but I've always been able to see things logically, and he is so right. Now, we introduced ourselves. His name is Rye. He is kind of a country guy, but just the sort of salt-of-the-earth type that I really respect. Rye inquired about my plans to move out, a question that had never crossed my mind until then. The realization hit me that I no longer wanted to be in the same vicinity as my wife. The intense emotions of fight or flight surged within me. Sympathetic to my predicament, Rye offered support and suggested a plan in case I decided to leave at some point. "I've got a travel trailer sitting on my property. It's not great, and it could use a bit of fixing up. Why don't you come out and check it out and see if you could see yourself living in something like that, temporarily at least? I'll make you a great deal on it. I even have a nice piece of property that you can park it on. You would be doing me a favor to keep an eye on it for me. It might do you some good to get away from your situation. Just a thought." It took me a minute to register his idea. The bartender had been overhearing the conversation and smiles. "Hell, honey," she says, "if I could have escaped my crazy ex-husband years ago, I would have jumped at the chance to go live in his trailer. Anything to just get my head on straight." I felt like I had stumbled into the twilight zone, but maybe this is exactly what I need. I told Rye, "Yes, I'll think about it and maybe check it out." We parted ways after a bit and made plans to meet out at his place in a few days. I started to feel like I had a little bit of perspective and a chance for getting out of what I believe is a nightmare, mixed in with a heavy heartache. Absolutely certain I harbored no desire to reunite with my wife. Infidelity, a reprehensible act, had always been my unwavering boundary. Returning home after the revelation, I sank onto the couch, lost in my thoughts. Kathy emerged and inquired about my whereabouts. I turned to her and asked her where she had been. She says, "You know, I went to grab drinks." I asked her point blank, "Are you having an affair?" She looked a little startled but regained her composure and said, "No. Why would you ask me that?" I told her I heard she may be involved with someone from work. She asked, "Who told you that?" I told her someone that I know but would not divulge the name. She just tells me, "You're being ridiculous," and that I'm drunk and delusional, and asks me where I've been. I told her, "Out to a bar to have some drinks with friends." She just stared at me, wanting to ask me more, but just headed back to our bedroom and went back to bed. Choosing to spend the night on the couch, the weight of her month-long deceit pressed heavily on my mind. Sleep eluded me as vivid, painful images of her with the other man tormented my thoughts. Amidst disgust, hurt, and self-pity, a sudden revelation struck: the prospect of Ray's trailer. This idea, like a comforting beacon, offered solace. I must have something wrong with me, but with the pain I was in, the fight-or-flight mode just instinctively kicked in, and the flight part won me over. The next morning, we didn't speak much and went about the weekend as if nothing had happened. A few days later, I made plans to meet up with Rye. I met up at Ray's place. He owned a nice ranch, and the trailer is actually really nice. About 26 feet and has all the necessities one needs to live in it. I had traveled with some friends in one back in college during a spring break and really enjoyed it. I made Ray an offer on it, and he agreed to the price. I practically stole it from him. He gave me directions to his ranch property, and I drove over to check it out. It's beautiful, full of trees, scrub brush, and it looks like there are nearby hiking and biking trails bordering it. It's near the foothills of some mountains, and Ray has a small shack on a hill overlooking the property, with water and electricity for the trailer available. Ray will tow the travel trailer to the designated site and handle its setup. In the ensuing weeks, my attempts to coax honesty from Kathy are met with gaslighting. Despite my direct warning that infidelity will sever our ties permanently, her response is to delve further into the affair, enshrouding herself in denial and perpetuating the emotional fog. The denial is so bad, it almost made me laugh. I had no physical proof of her cheating and kicked myself for not at least taking some photos of the two of them. As I went through this mental agony, I came to the conclusion that I want out of this marriage. Rather than let Kathy know how I feel about things now, I just started making plans. I started stealthily taking my belongings out of the apartment while she was at work and moving them over to the trailer. This at least makes me feel like I'm taking action. I did notice a change in Kathy during this time. She had been acting nicely around me, but in my mind, too little, too late. As she continued her little company outings after work, I decided I too needed a break. In fact, as she was heading out for the evening, I also got dressed around the same time. She looked at me and asked where I was going. I just said, "I'm meeting up with some friends." She started to ask, and I just told her she didn't know them and she wouldn't enjoy all the shop talk. This is exactly what she would tell me when I would ask if I could join her at one of her office outings. She kind of had a hurt look on her face and said, "Okay, have a nice time." I said, "I definitely will." Between working on the trailer and meeting up with Ray at the bar, I have started to make more friends. In reality, this situation has resulted in enjoyable moments spent with an engaging circle of Ray's friends and family. To maintain a healthy balance, I've opted to moderate my drinking, steering clear of potential pitfalls. Around this juncture, Kathy informed me of an upcoming work-related trip the following week. I asked her who all was going, and she told me the executive team and some department heads. I just looked at her and told her, "I hope you have a really great time with your boyfriend." I kind of wish I hadn't said that. It started a lot of arguing back and forth. In a lot of ways, I wish I knew more about her affair partner, but as Ray put it to me, in the long run, it doesn't matter who the other guy is. It only matters that she decided to step out on you. She burned down the marriage. She can own it or deny it, but facts are facts, brother. Damn, Ray should write this stuff down and publish it for the betrayed. Her work trip provided me with the opportunity to move the rest of my stuff out completely. So after Kathy left for her trip, I gathered everything I had left of any value and put it in my vehicle. I only took essentials like clothes and work-related equipment, leaving behind furniture and personal items. Instead of the detailed note I initially considered, I settled for a brief message on a piece of paper. I hope it was worth it. Placing my wedding ring at the top of the note, I left it on the kitchen table for her to find. I felt a huge weight come off of me. I felt free. No more hiding the truth. I know I will have some baggage to deal with and some hurt to get over, but I have time to heal now. I just need some space and need to get her out of my life as quietly and quickly as possible. I'm not proud that I never confronted her more or pulled a confession out of her. I never got to yell and scream and curse her after confessing. I had come to the conclusion in my mind that she didn't deserve me. She disrespected everything we had. Our future plans are history. We were saving for a house and a future family. All of that is gone now. No going back. I don't owe her a damn thing. She can deal with the fallout aftermath. I didn't have an agenda at all. I didn't contact a lawyer or anything. I just wanted to get some clarity. I really enjoyed my new trailer, and the mountainous air was exactly what I needed. In the following week, I took up running again, and it felt great to be alive. I never answered any of Kathy's texts while she was away. I had moved some 2 hours from where we used to live. I saw her last weekend in a coffee shop I go to frequently in the town that is near to where I live. I was suspicious that it was not a coincidence that she was there. Luckily, I was able to leave before she saw me. Update. I came back into town this past weekend to grab a few groceries and went to grab a coffee in the place I usually go to, as well as work on some documents I needed to fill out for work using their free internet. Exiting the coffee shop, I headed toward my truck. Suddenly, I heard my name being called, "Paul!" Glancing across the street, my heart sank. There she was, Kathy, my ex, waving at me. It felt like the apocalypse had arrived. Stunned, I stood frozen as she dashed across the street expecting a hug. Instinctively, I held my arms out with palms facing outward, and she stopped. She looked at me, really hurt. She then said, "Paul, I have been looking for you. I heard you moved out here and wanted to see you. Can we talk?" I felt like a trapped animal, guys. I really did. So I relented and said, "Okay, let's find a table or something, and we can talk for a minute." She asked if we could go to my place, and I just flat out said, "No." She followed me down to a bench outside a little shop at the end of the block. She started by saying how much I've changed and how she loves my new look, my beard, blah blah. She liked how my physique had changed, how I looked so fit. She put on a good act and, guys, she looked hot. She had on these little white shorts and a tank top and her hair in a ponytail like I used to like. My radar was on high alert, and I could tell she was really turning on the sex appeal. I had to really rein myself in here and see where this was going. She began with an apology for the affair, acknowledging that karma had struck her hard following my departure. Her company discovered the affair, creating such an unpleasant environment that she eventually resigned. Her affair partner, who had a fiancé at the time, received a reprimand and was relocated to a different position within the company. Blaming her for his relocation, he lashed out, prompting her to disclose the truth to his fiancé, leading to the end of their relationship. She lowered her head a little and started crying. I just sat there, looking around, not having anything to say. She straightened up and stared at me for a bit. I asked her what she wanted from me. She wanted to tell me that she never intended to start an affair, that she felt like she was drawn in by all the politics and positioning in the company, and thought the AP really manipulated her with his charisma and power within the company, and that she stupidly thought she was using him as much as he was using her. She said she was going to come clean with me, especially after I accused her of having an affair. She hated herself during that time, and the after-work drinking was her attempt to medicate from the guilt. That right after I left her, she felt so foolish, so alone, like her heart just imploded with loss. She immediately broke things off with her AP. She believed that since I wouldn't reach out or communicate with her, she had to seek me out to try and make amends. Her intention was to see if we could start over with a clean slate, even though she knew we were already divorced. I just stared at her. And then I confronted her, roughly summarizing our conversation. How dare you think you can just come out here and think you can just wipe away all the crap you caused? I'm to forgive everything you did to ruin our marriage? I told you before, if you cheated on me, we were through. There is no forgiveness. There is no reboot of this relationship. You killed it. You destroyed what we had the minute you stepped out on me. How stupid do you think I am? I followed you one night and saw you go into a hotel together. Do you know that? Then I realized I had been raising my voice and people were starting to notice. She started to sob. She grabbed my arm. I let her cry on my shoulder a little before nudging her away. She looked up at me. I deserve all this. I know I do. Can you at least let me take you to dinner or something? I don't want to leave. I want to talk more. I want to make sure we have everything out in the open. I need time with you that you didn't give me before. Please, Paul. I know you may not want to hear this, but I love you so much. She uttered, I didn't realize how much I loved you until you left me and shattered me. And I shattered you just as badly. I can't forgive myself. I don't want to forgive myself until the day I die. Overwhelmed, she began hyperventilating and sobbing uncontrollably. In an attempt to console her, I pulled her up and embraced her, feeling that it might be the only way to possibly soothe her distress. At that moment, I realized I did actually break her heart, like she broke mine. I started walking with her and then found a nice quiet path to walk on, and things settled down a bit. I then asked her how she found me. Did you hire a PI or something? She laughed a little and said no, though she had thought about it. She said she ran into Stacy a couple of weeks ago and asked her how things were going. Stacy let it slip that she had seen me. Kathy made her spill every single detail. Stacy didn't want to tell her because I told her not to, but Kathy wouldn't let her go until she did. But all Stacy really knew was that she saw me here in town and that I lived somewhere in the vicinity. So Kathy started coming here on her days off to see if she could find me. She really blushed when she said that. I kind of chuckled. That damn Stacy can't keep her trap shut. So we did go to dinner. We found a nice little place with a patio. I made sure we didn't drink anything. I didn't want any excuse for her to soften me up or claim she was too drunk to drive back. Following our emotional exchange, we engaged in a heartfelt conversation. As I escorted her to her car, she expressed a strong desire to stay, persistently urging me, despite her assurance that she hadn't been involved with anyone else since my departure, and that I was the only one she wanted. I firmly declined. It felt far too early for me to contemplate reopening that chapter. She begged to see me again, but I was non-committal. I gave her my new email address, but that was it. She wanted my phone number, but I told her no. You'll just blow it up with texts and calls. She cried about that one. She said she would be back in town next weekend if I was interested. I didn't say anything to that. She said she would email me and tell me all the details of when and where. Before she left, I asked her point blank, if I had done the cheating, would you forgive me? She sat there thinking and said, yes, I would, in time, but only if we saw a marriage counselor or if we could work through the healing process with lots of talking and maybe even a binding agreement. I considered her proposition, acknowledging that perhaps in 5 or 10 years, I might be open to revisiting our relationship. She agreed to wait, if that's what it would take. Holding my hands, she looked deep into my eyes and uttered something unexpected. God damn it, Paul. I will always love you and will do anything to prove it. She declared that, and then she left. I'm still so shook by that. She said it with such conviction. I still can't see myself back with her. I feel better, though. Right now, I can't even see her as in friends with benefits, maybe a friend. But damn, I just don't know if we could ever work out again. Don't call me a chump, because second chances are rare in my book. I went home and had a nice long run and a few beers and felt I was in a good place now. Can someone guarantee me that she wouldn't ruin that? I don't know. I just don't know. It's too fresh on my mind, but I have the luxury of time to sort all this out and get some perspective. Now, to the second update. Okay, so this will probably be my last update. I posted my story on Reddit, but the mod kept removing it. To recap, my ex-wife did find me, and we did talk, after over a year of her being ghosted by me. Her intention in refinding me was indeed to reconcile and restart our life together. To those that wrote to me predicting that I would be the typical BW pill fool and forgive her and fall back in with her, you will be sorely disappointed. She recently sent me a lengthy email expressing her love and remorse for the affair. Once again, she proposed visiting for the weekend. However, I firmly rejected the idea. I found contentment in my solitary lifestyle, residing in my secluded spot, and aim to keep my life as uncomplicated as possible for the time being. I have enjoyed the company of several women and friends, and at 32, I feel there is no hurry in changing things up. I have my own self-determination roadmap, and I intend to follow it, for now. So in answering her email, I refused to give her my new phone number. I laid it all out. I told her no, I do not have any intention in reconciling with her. She made her bed, and I no longer trust her, nor do I know her any longer. I wished her the best, and said I would consider her a possible friend. Maybe someday in the future, yet to be determined. My vagueness really frustrated her, so she replied with something very telling. She was, of course, thoroughly disappointed in my response. But she also informed me that she had accepted a job offer several states away, and her real intention all along was for me to come with her. She's aware that my job is remote, allowing me to live anywhere I desire. She believed I might entertain the idea of joining her, envisioning a fresh start in a new location for both of us. With limited time remaining before her departure, she was eager to meet in person and make a compelling case for our potential future together. Fortunately for me, I have to leave for business for a week, so our time is up. Thank God. So she will be gone from my life now. I imagine I will get a few more emails for a bit longer, but in time, I believe she will realize her time with me has expired, and she will have to find someone else, and she may cheat on them too. Just thought I would share the update. So guys, live your best life. Get rid of that old baggage and empower yourself to move forward. Good luck to you all. Continue living your best life.